Good morning. Good morning. Right, how am I going to make this go forwards? Space bar, let's try that. Say again? Good morning, technology. This is technology. Right. So I've got the job of waking everyone up, and the first thing you do is not find the right technology. So that was a very kind introduction, Robin. But I just want to say that technologists, we all have a bit of a reputation for being futurologists as well. And one of the reasons for that is that we actually do know what's coming, because in the main, we've already built it. The technology that you're going to be seeing as new visions over the next couple of years is out there. Some are exhibiting here today, others are in startups or in incubators all around the world. But these things that you're going to see over the next 2 years exist. So it's not about having a vision for the future, it's about understanding which of the 100 things you see are going to be the 10 that change the industry. So I'm going to talk about how this is going to impact your business. I want to talk about what you need to do to change your business to be ready for the change in technology that's going to come down the road. And the reason that I know what's coming is, in the main, it's already built. So this is your customer. Anyone recognize him? I hope not. He's on Flickr, so one of these days I'm going to go to a conference and I'm going to find someone who recognizes him. This is your customer. They are now going to be sat at 11:30 at night in their hotel room going, what are we going to do tomorrow? And that is a ginormous shift from what used to happen, which is they used to be sat in Texas going, we're coming to Edinburgh, we're coming to Scotland, but we're going in 2 months' time. So think about that for a second. How is that change from what are we doing in 2 months' time in Edinburgh going to impact your business in relation to, I'm sat in my hotel room, what are we going to do tomorrow? It gets even more extreme when we start talking about some types of day tours, because they might be having breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning going, well, what are we going to do at lunchtime? And that's an even shorter booking time period. But these are all going to have big impacts on your business. Now, you might be selling multi-day tours. You might be selling a 7-day trip to Scotland, like the Highlands here. Well, actually, you go, well, that's not going to impact us. People are still going to book their 7-day tours many, many months in advance. Well, yes, except perhaps they'll now be booking hotels themselves and be looking for individual elements, individual components throughout the day. And so that is going to change, not just day tours, but it's also changing multi-day. So, you know, this is going to change. Let's have a look at some of the impacts. Bookings are going to come in after your office is shut. Previously, on a day tour, the expectation in the industry is a 48-hour cutoff. Who here runs day tours? Anyone? Hands up, or attractions? What is your cutoff for taking a booking online? 48 hours? Do you take bookings right up to the minute? Sometimes people do. But imagine you're putting your booking on, getting a booking from Expedia, or you're getting a booking from another big online travel company. Because of the way that you load your dates and you have to have all these staff logging into their websites and changing things, you put a 48-hour cutoff in because it's easier. But now people are going to be booking the night before. That 48-hour cutoff has to go. Hotel pickups. Who picks up people from their hotel to take them on a tour? Very, very popular thing to do. These now need to be automated. Someone's booking at 11:30 at night, the night before. You now need the bus driver, your taxi driver, your pickup driver to get that information about the hotel pickup in an automated fashion, because there is no office time between the booking and the delivery of the service. So you need to think about that. Well, how am I going to get my hotel pickups working? And you need to change the way that you're contracting your staff in some places. With kayaking, there are various rules that say, hey, I need to have one member of staff, an instructor, per 10 customers. Well, what happens if the day before you get a booking for 5 new customers? Well, you're suddenly going to have to find another member of staff. Now, previously, if people were booking at 30 days out or 2 months out, this was a regular problem that you just solved as part of your normal business. But now the bookings are going to come in the night before, the day before. You're like, how am I going to get my staff in a position that I can flex up and down my staff levels based on the bookings that I don't even know are coming in? They might, the customers on their mobile device, they're going, I'd love to go up to Aviemore and do a bit of, well, not Aviemore, go to wherever it is and just do some whitewater rafting. You need to do that. Okay, so you need to think about that. The other shift is how you're going to commercially market your business. Because previously, it was easy. If you had 60 days booking lead time, you would go where the customers were. You would do deals with big, let's say, US travel agency chains, because they had your customers. But now your customers are on a mobile app, and they're walking around Edinburgh. Well, doing a deal with a US travel agency chain is not going to be the solution to how you're going to get customers. So your entire business development, in terms of how am I going to attract customers, is going to have to alter. No longer is it going to be about doing deals with nice business development people from retail travel chains. You're now going to have to do business with technologists. That's tough. Technologists are not very good at doing business. So everyone's going to have to get more used to doing deals with technologists, because they're the people who are now going to be owning the consumer, rather than necessarily your large overseas travel agency networks, who up to this point have been good sources of customers. So you need to think a little bit about how that's going to change. And you're going to need to think, if you're a local supplier, you're going to need to think, hey, how am I going to work with hotel concierges? How am I going to work with street sellers? How am I going to work with other people who are in destination and who can promote my product? Because that is where the customer's now going to be coming from. They're not going to be coming from people booking months in advance. So does that sound like a scary change? I think this sounds like a good change. This is much better for customers. It gives them more flexibility. It's going to become much more weather dependent, because people, when they book it, are going to know what the weather's going to be. Because they're booking it for tomorrow and it's forecast to rain, then they won't book it if it's a Segway tour. But they will book it if it's an indoor tour. Whereas if they book 2 months in advance and they've booked something that's outside, they'll do it even though they booked it, because they booked it. So you need to think about weather. Am I going to have, because that booking window is closed, they're going to know the weather before they book it. Think, does that impact my business? Is my business weather dependent? Do I have indoor tours as well as outdoor tours, so that I will always get a booking of something? These are the kind of things that you need to think about as the impacts of mobile. Right. Only 15%, and this is a Focusrite stat from the US, so this is the US market, which is probably similar to the UK market and the Scottish market. Only 15% of local suppliers, not hoteliers. Hoteliers all have reservation systems and booking systems. But many of the local tour suppliers, only 15% have a reservation system. Others are still reliant on something they've built themselves, something like Excel, just the email inbox, or a basic ticketing system. All of the work that I've just been talking about, all of those impacts can be fixed by having a reservation system. And there were some good ones exhibiting here today. Just go and talk to them. This is the solution for many of the automation of the tasks that you're going to need to do as a result of going mobile-oriented. Okay, so that's sort of the big picture. Mobile is not about just having a responsive website. That's my one sort of takeaway line. It's about thinking about how you're going to change your business to work within mobile. But I want to move on now a little bit to talk about other interesting things that are coming over the next couple of years that you ought to be aware of and think, how is that going to change my business? So, online travel agents, talked a little bit about them. They were so used to sending customers to you at 60 days notice. Fantastic. That's great. Easy to handle, easy to take. But now they're all building apps. So someone's going to be walking around Scotland with their Expedia app, with their Kayak app, with their, whatever it is, app. And no longer is the OTA about sending people to you. They'll be in your destination marketing to the customers who are already here. That's going to change things because now the OTAs are working with you at the last minute, not just ahead of time. Are we ready for that? Are we ready for having these big American OTAs in your market? Or would you prefer to have local specialist app developers who build something amazing for Scotland, something amazing for Edinburgh, but it's not what the global traveller has in their pocket? What the global traveller will have in their pocket is the big OTA app, not the local app. If you can convince a local traveller to have a local app to download it on their first visit, fantastic, and I'm sure there's going to be a market for that. But the big OTAs, the Expedias, the Pricelines of the world, they're going to have their own apps, and they will be actively in use when the customer's walking around the destination. So you think, oh, how am I going to get involved? And these guys, they need help because they're not used to trading in that way. Their entire business is based around taking people from one place to another. So, you go to Expedia. What's the first thing you see on the Expedia website? It's a question that says, where do you want to go? What's the first thing you see on a local Scottish website? Welcome to Scotland. It's the opposite way around. OTAs is about sending people. Local websites are about attracting people and welcoming people. So the OTAs are going to have to completely change their business to move from being an outbound company to being an inbound, in-destination company. And just think, well, who are they going to turn to get them to help with that? Well, they're going to turn to you guys who are suppliers of product. They're going to turn to travel writers, travel bloggers, people who can produce interesting articles, because they need that. They're not used to that. They need so that you can begin to sense the shift. If you watch them and you watch them, you'll see that they're beginning to think, how am I going to do this? I mean, a classic example is in hotels. Hotels you used to book miles and miles in advance. Who's heard of Hotel Tonight? Anyone heard of Hotel Tonight? So it's an app that you just go, well, where am I going to stay tonight? It's now changed hotel booking from something you do months in advance to something you do for tonight. It just changes everything. Google Glass. Who's heard of Google Glass? Google Field Trip? Anyone? Google Field Trip is an amazing product. I love it. Google Field Trip, if you've got an iPhone, and it's probably on Android, no Google, if you haven't looked at Google Field Trip, please go and have a look at Google Field Trip. It's an app that as you walk around a destination, they suggest interesting things that are happening in your destination around exactly where you are at this moment in time. But the interesting thing for you guys is that they source that content from hundreds of content providers all around the world. So if you have 100 articles on the best whiskies in Scotland, they will put that on Field Trip if you talk to them properly, and they will feature that. So when someone is walking down the street, they will be prompted with that information if it's contextually correct. So that is Google Field Trip is not, they've said, hey, we're going to take content from everyone, which is really important, and something you can actually do. You can actually do that and get engaged on that product. I would say there's one thing about Google Field Trip, which is I know it's been designed by someone in California, because as you walk around California, there's only 200 years of history. So if you walk around, there's not much going on. If you use Google Field Trip in Scotland, like there's so much happened in the same latitude and longitude over thousands of years, you're like, oh, overwhelmed. So it's definitely a Californian product, not a British product, because there's no history in California, so it's kind of tuned for Californian history levels, which is fine, but it's something you ought to bear in mind when you use it. You're thinking, I mean, I drive around Southampton, and it's telling me interesting stuff all the time. I'm like going, start up! So you have to turn it off at some time. You think, oh, stop telling me all this stuff. So Google Field Trip is really fun. If you haven't played with it, play with it. It works with Google Glass. So Google Glass are these, potentially as you walk around a destination, who's going to be wearing these things? No one. But Google Glass also works with Field Trip, and you can, as you walk around, you can get exciting, interesting snippets of history and other useful information presented to you into your eyes. Next, we'll have Google connected to our brains, but connected to our eyes is pretty close. Okay, so other things that are happening in the wider industry. Beacons. Who's heard of beacons? Some companies are even doing research on beacons. Beacons are cool. What is a beacon? Beacon is a solution to a problem that a technologist will solve in the next couple of years. Is how do you know where someone is at any moment in time, and how do I give them an offer based on their location? So, if you're, let's say, you're in the Sheraton in Edinburgh, you can get a bit of, potentially, Sheraton could have a beacon, which is a sort of a physical device that they can plug in, and they will be able to push messages to your phone. Does that sound like a good idea? I don't know. It sounds kind of frightening in some ways. The problem is scale. Imagine if every shop had a beacon. If every hotel had a beacon, you would be overloaded. So I don't think beacons are cool and they're kind of interesting to go and look at, but it's more about the problem that they're solving rather than about the technology. Because I still believe that an app is probably a more powerful concept than a beacon. The problem with apps that are location aware is that they drain people's batteries. And after 3-4 hours of checking someone's GPS position every 10 minutes, the battery's gone on everyone's phone. So beacons actually solve the battery problem, but it's a weird solution that doesn't scale. I'd much prefer apps that are location aware than beacons, because they just seem to be more natural in terms of how people are expecting to use them. And also, because it's an app, you would then be able to filter what kind of messages you might want to load from a locality. But beacons are not just for promotions. They can be used in attractions. They can be giving you snippets of information. There's a whole bunch of different interesting innovations that we can get to on beacons. But everyone's starting from the same position, which is zero knowledge. So you've got the opportunity to get to 6 months' experience of it before anyone else. So you think, well, actually, I could be the person who really understands beacons. Wow, there's an opportunity here. If you said, hey, I'm going to be the guy in Edinburgh who really understands web, well, you're 15 years too late. But you're not 15 years too late to really get to that position on beacons and some of these other technologies. PayPal have got a beacon which is slightly different, which is they'll tell you who's in the room, who's got a PayPal account. So as you walk up to the coffee shop and say, hey, I want to pay for that coffee, the shop will have the list of 10 PayPal users who are currently standing in their shop. And they'll go, oh, you must be this one. So you don't even have to tell them. That's quite scary, because they already know who you are as you walk up to the counter. Well, what are they doing? Are they watching you walk around the shop? Are they tracking you? Lots of privacy implications. So beacons is not really there's no known outcome yet, but it's kind of interesting to keep an eye on. So this is my sort of parting thought, is that, and this is probably quite pertinent considering the weather that's been in the UK over the last couple of weeks, in that it's not about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. And what I mean by that, and I don't think I came up with that quote, so don't attribute that to me, I'm not that clever. If this is all about ensuring that this technology, you go, oh, that technology, that's interesting. I'll go to this technology conference, learn a bit about technology, but then I'll go back to my regular business and do it the way I've always done it. No. This is what's coming, because this is built. This is out there. iBeacon from Apple is out there. PayPal Beacon is out there. Mobile booking is out there. This is all happening and going to be the big shift that's happening in the next 12, 18 months. And you've got the opportunity to be ready for it, to prepare your businesses for it. Or you can be having the same conversation in 12 months' time and going, why didn't my bookings increase as a result of mobile? I listened to this guy say mobile bookings are going to be big, but it turns out they're not. Well, it's probably because you've got a new competitor. Like, did Expedia see Hotel Tonight coming? No. Hotel Tonight just came in and said, hey, there's an opportunity. Let's do it. Anytime you get a bit of disruption, you get a little bit of new innovation, you get new businesses forming. So just think about that. You want to keep your position in the industry, you need to be agile, you need to be keeping up. So therefore, you need to be learning to dance in the rain. Thank you very much.